Hey everyone, Andrew DeBissi here from Fletcher Forge and Tool. I just wanted to demonstrate the FFT sharpening kit in action. So this is the setup that I use every day. I have a big grinder with the expander wheel on one side and then two of the buffing wheels, the Sizewell wheels set up on the other side for sharpening rasps, and then a single buffer on top with a coarse wheel and a fine wheel for sharpening the knives. Now I enjoy using a buffer. This one's certainly not expensive. I've had it for 8 years. I think it's from Princess Auto up here in Canada or Harbor Freight down in the States. But it gives a little bit of room here, which really allows you a lot of room, more room to work when you're sharpening a knife. So I have messed around with a lot of different combinations of wheels and compounds, and I find that this works really well. If you try to sharpen only on a soft wheel with a fine compound, you're going to end up pushing too hard and rolling the edge on your knife. So you really need a wheel that is aggressive enough to remove material quickly so that you don't get impatient, but not so quickly that you're either burning your knife or or just prematurely wearing out your knife. So this wheel works really well, and I'm going to demonstrate this in real time. Now this knife, I used this today. It's done about 11 horses we did today. And so this knife, I mean, it still has an edge on it, but it's definitely not as sharp as it was this morning. You can see it doesn't really catch my thumbnail there. So we're going to try to get an edge on this, and I'm going to show how quick this can go, because this for me too is a big thing. It's great to get a really sharp edge on your knife, but it takes you an hour to do it. That's not much good. So I wear safety glasses. I'm kind of a safety third person, but even I wear safety glasses for this. So if I'm doing it, you probably should too. With the compound on the cotton wheel, a little bit applied frequently is the best way to do it. This one will have the greaseless compound that's applied. I'll actually demonstrate that at the end. But this goes on and it dries on, and it only needs to be updated about every 2 to 3 weeks, I find, even with very consistent sharpening. This is a variable speed buffer, and so I like the slower speed for using this wheel and the higher speed for this one. But I mean, a 1750 RPM grinder or buffer will work fine. Better that. If the speed gets too much higher than that, then typically you run the danger of burning your blade. All right, so we're running as slow as the buffer will go here. And I want to sharpen this at 22.5 degrees. So if this is 90 degrees, if this is 0 degrees, that's 90. Half of 90 is 45. Half of 45 is 22.5. So it's pretty easy to figure out. We hold it at a consistent angle and we work all the way along the blade. And we want to keep the blade moving so it doesn't overheat. Very gentle pressure. This should be abrasive enough to do the work without having to push into it. So I can feel just a very slight burr on the back. Now I like to have this running down. I know some of you psychopaths like to have it running the opposite way, the argument being that it flings it away from you instead of toward you, but even when it's running the opposite way, the tendency is always to work towards us on the near side instead of the far side. So I would rather have it go into my leg than into my eyeball, but that's just me. So I'm going to speed up the wheel, speed up the grinder for the other side using the other wheel. Little bit of compound applied frequently, and the first thing I'm going to do is just take off the burr that was put there. So notice I did not use that coarse wheel on the back side of the blade. We're going to take that very small burr off with this wheel. That's it. Reapply compound, and slowly, same angle as on the first wheel, and then knock that little burr off very lightly. And this should be sharp enough. You can see there it catches on the thumbnail, and this should be sharp enough. There we are. It's shaving sharp. So to me, yes, you can technically get this knife sharper, but it would take many more steps. It's a series of diminishing returns after you get to this level of sharpness. To be where it's sharp enough to be a noticeable difference from here, I think you'd have to use 5 or 6 wheels really to get it that much sharper, and that extra sharpness is not going to stick around for very long. I'm just going to show here. I keep the greaseless compound. It comes in the kits as a little puck, and it's not the cleanest in the world. But I just keep it in here and it turns into a little bit of a paste. It just dissolves. And so when this wheel does need more, I just take a little bit on my finger and just smear it along. And any excess falls back in here, so you know it can really last you a long time. And once this wheel is kind of loaded up, it takes only a very little bit to keep this wheel going. So I would work all the way along, spread this all the way around, make sure it's nice and even, there's no dead missing spots, and then that just needs to dry for a couple of hours. Now the last thing we're going to show is sharpening the rasp. This is wide enough that once pressure is applied, the two wheels together will touch all of the teeth. So I apply a compound. This is the black aggressive compound, which works really well with these Sawzall wheels. And I'm going to apply that every pass, but every pass is going to be done slowly. Now I typically do half the amount of passes on the back side as I do on the coarse side. So I would typically do 5 or 6 passes on the coarse side, and then I would do about 3 passes on the fine side. So we load the wheel up. Same principle, small amounts applied frequently, and slowly you run down and back up. Now for the fine side, the exact same thing. And this rasp will be as sharp as it can get. So I sharpen my rasp every time that I sharpen my knives, and that seems to keep them in pretty good repair, and they last a long time. I used to go through a rasp every week, and now a rasp will last me a month before it gets too dull where it won't sharpen up properly anymore. Anyway, that is a demonstration of the Fletcher Forge & Tool sharpening kit. I hope it can serve many of you very well, as it has served me that way too. Thanks very much.